Donald Trump had a blistering rally yesterday. We got a whole bunch of clips. Democrats honestly have no response to the political arguments he's making right now that resonate with the American people. So what are they doing? What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to lie about him, of course. Lie about him in a way that terrifies American voters. And that's actually a theme that we saw with Jill Biden earlier today, too, lying about polls and, again, trying to scare voters because you should be terrified of Donald Trump. Also, you should be terrified of Pete Buttigieg, your Secretary of Treasury. I know he seems like such a nice guy, just like everybody's nephew, but he thinks you're a moron. He thinks you're an idiot because you don't want to drive a little battery-powered roller skate. We've got all that stuff and a whole lot more coming up in a moment. We're brought to you by, we're brought to you by me today, and I'm happy to do it. You're welcome. I'm Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. We don't have a title sponsor today. Ixnay on the ought to you Bry Bay. Something. Hi, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching so much this week. My gosh, we've had so much response from so many people watching. If you're watching us live right now, then you must be on Rumble. And we love our friends at Rumble. Hi, Rumble. Thanks for watching us live. Thanks for commenting, liking, and subscribing to us at Rumble or at whatever video platform you're watching us on, especially over at the mothership at townhall.com, hotair.com, redstate.com, pj8media.com, or Bearing Arms and Twitchy. One of our clips on Twitchy really went crazy yesterday, and that was awesome, too. Thank you guys for watching there. And if you are watching on the Town Hall Media websites, why don't you become a VIP member? You can do that and get 50% off today if you use the code Larry when you order. Just look right up there on the page that you're watching. You'll see VIP up on the top menu at all the Town Hall sites. Go ahead and click on that. You'll get an ad-free experience. You'll get exclusive VIP content. You'll support the important journalism that, well, not me, I don't do anything important, but all of our great reporters are doing at Red State. You know, you didn't like Ronna McDaniel as the RNC chairwoman, right? Well, you can thank the reporting of Jennifer Van Laar over at Red State for that. And a whole lot more great reporting that's being done that, honestly, big tech doesn't want us to do. That's why your support goes a long way. So use the code Larry when you sign up for VIP, and you'll get 50% off. You're welcome. Let's get right to it. Donald Trump yesterday, a big rally. And it was the first rally after we all held hands in this country and celebrated the most solemn holiday that we ever recognize. Of course, I'm talking about Transgender Visibility Day. Well, Donald Trump had a bit of an idea about maybe a counter celebration, something that might send a different message to Transgender Visibility Day.
And what the hell was Biden thinking when he declared Easter Sunday to be Trans Visibility Day? Such total disrespect to Christians. And November 5th is going to be called something else. You know, it's going to be called Christian Visibility Day, when Christians turn out in numbers that nobody has ever seen before.
You see, he's a Christian nationalist. It's all about Christian nationalism. That's what it is. They might as well have white hoods on. They're burning crosses. It's Christian national. He only wants Christian votes. He doesn't like that's what they sound like, too, isn't it? That was actually a pretty uncanny impersonation. That's, of course, the response. But here's the problem. You can't actually stop this headfirst dive into Gomorrah that the Democrats are taking us to. Stop it, reverse it, and say, you know what? These people over here, you know, the majority of voices in America who actually have strong Christian biblical faith, they're sick and tired of being disrespected. They're sick and tired of being dragged and mocked and disdained by the popular culture, by media, and certainly by the president of the United States. So maybe they should have a voice. And when they vote on November 5th, that's when they'll be visible. How's that? Well, you're not allowed to say that. That's all Trump is saying, but you're not allowed to say that. You say that, you're a dictator. He had more.
In addition, I will take aggressive action to end radical Democrat lunacy known as squatters' rights. They want to squat into your house. There's now an epidemic of illegal squatters throughout our country. They're trying to steal American homes by exploiting Marxist laws and Democrat-run cities. I mean, they're actually going into a house and you can't get them out. That's in Democrat run. That doesn't, it's not working in Republican run cities. That's why, as president, I will establish a federal task force to use every authority that we have at our disposal to end squatting.
In other words, let me summarize this rally for you. We've got more clips, but I'll give you a summary. Everything that's pissing you off about America right now, Trump promises to fix. Trump promises to reverse. And specifically to squatters, this whole squatters thing, squatters. They're thieves. They're stealing private property and claiming it as their own. If somebody takes your car and decides that they get to keep it and drive around in it, are you giving them squatters' rights in your car? No, they're car thefts. Grand Theft Auto, baby, and not the fun kind on your Xbox. Who better to solve this problem of illegal tenants and illegal squatters and trespassers than a landlord? A guy whose fortune came from owning apartment buildings in New York City. I think he has a pretty good handle on this issue. He continued, though, with the theme, everything that pisses you off right now in America, Trump will fix. Watch this one.
You would have never had Ukraine being attacked, and you would have never had Israel being attacked. Those things wouldn't have happened. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. I'll get it settled. I know them both very well. We will restore peace through strength, and we will prevent World War III. And nobody else can say, you're going to end up in World War III. This guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know who to speak to. He's lost. He's a lost soul. Our president is a lost soul. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
It is pathetic. He's a lost soul. I do love that. And you're already getting the responses. He said he's going to end the Russia-Ukraine war that's not going to. He can't do that. He has no ability to do that. They said the exact same thing when he said that he was going to clear Iraq of ISIS. You elect me, and we will wipe ISIS out of Iraq. We'll end ISIS. Remember ISIS? Remember, you'd be forgiven if you don't, because they were a real problem in the final years of the Obama administration. Then Trump came in, and he literally did do that. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. And it happened really quickly, like 9 months. And ISIS was kaput. They were done. They were history. Actually, it can be done. You just need a president that has the will to do it, just like moving the embassy. He said, I'll promise to move the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. He can't do that. He won't be able to do that. Well, the reason why people in D.C. didn't think he could do that was because so many presidents going up to that point had promised to do it and then just forgot their promise and never did it. Trump did it. How many things did he say he was going to do that everyone said he couldn't do and he would never do, and then he ended up doing it? And now they're saying the same thing about ending the Russia-Ukraine war. It is amazing what happens when you actually show some strength and some leadership. By the end of the Trump presidency, in just 4 years, you had Arab nations who had been sworn enemies of the state of Israel signing peace accords with them. Why? Because Trump went in and said, yeah, we're not playing middleman here. We're not saying both sides of the Palestinian-Israeli debate have valid issues here. No, he said, you know what? We're on Israel's side. And if you want to be on America's side, the rest of you Arab nations here in the Middle East, you should be on Israel's side too. And lo and behold, 3-4 countries all start signing peace deals with Israel. It's amazing when you show leadership and take a stand on something, how people follow. That's what leadership is all about. And by the way, how's that economy working out? Well, if the economy is pissing you off, Trump had an answer for that too.
With your vote, we will throw out Bidenomics, and we will reinstate Maganomics. We love MAGA. Make America great again.
Maganomics. It actually makes more sense than Bidenomics, I suppose. So here's the point. From the economy to national security and foreign wars to transgender visibility and the mania that goes along with that woke crap to what was the other thing that he promised? The squatters' rights and a whole lot of other things, border security, crime in the streets. Democrats literally have no answer. They don't have any answer other than he's a meanie. He's bad. He's horrible. You know how I know they have no answer? Because the one thing that the Biden campaign pulled out, they found 7 seconds of the video that they put on their Twitter feed. See, Biden Harris HQ is the name of this Twitter feed. Look at there's Biden with his red demon eyes. They probably shouldn't steer into that. Those are the Biden red demon eyes I was talking about. Now, I want you to look at how this 7-second clip is framed. Okay? Trump, Democrats said, please don't call immigrants animals. I said, no, they're not humans, they're animals. Now, any sentient human being that doesn't just watch MSNBC all day long knows that Donald Trump did not call immigrants animals. You know that. You know that. I don't even have to tell you that. You know that already. And there's a big clue here, by the way, that that's not what Trump says in this clip. Do you notice how there are no quotation marks around this so-called quote, right? Usually, when you're quoting somebody in print, you actually use quotation marks, but they're not. They're not. So what did Trump actually say? Well, here's the clip, the deceptively edited clip that they used to support this so-called quote from Donald Trump.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
Now you know why there's no quote marks around this statement, right? Because Donald Trump did not say Democrats said, please don't call immigrants animals. I said, no, they're not humans. They're animals.
The Democrats say, please don't call them animals.
Don't call them animals. Now, any discerning viewer who sees this clip and says, don't call them animals, you must wonder, I wonder who them is. Who's he talking about? Who's he referring to? And if you just rely on the Biden-Harris HQ account, or probably Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow, who have the clip probably in their rundown for today, you would just assume that he was referring to immigrants, because after all, the Biden-Harris campaign told me that he was talking about immigrants, and they would never lie, would they? Well, I know you know that Donald Trump didn't call immigrants animals, but I still respect you so much that I want you to see the entire clip. The part that the Biden-Harris campaign didn't want their loyal fans to see. The part that people on MSNBC and CNN and wherever else that clip is going to be repeated, they didn't want their viewers to see the entire statement. Here's the entire statement. Who was Donald Trump calling animals?
The 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarically murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. And Nancy Pelosi told me that. She said, please don't use the word animal, sir, when you're talking about these people. I said, I'll use the word animal because that's what they are. I'll never forget my vow to her.
He was calling murderers animals. An illegal immigrant who was in this country who murdered Laken Riley in cold blood. And the MS-13, the last time he used the word animals when referring to illegal immigrants, it was specifically to MS-13 gang members. I remember it vividly. Called them animals. Nancy Pelosi lectured him. No. If you're a member of the MS-13 gang and you rape children and you murder them and decapitate them with machetes and leave them in the forest as part of your rituals, because that's what happens right here in the Washington, D.C. area on a sadly regular basis, you are an animal. That's who Donald Trump was calling an animal. And all the Biden-Harris campaign have is lies. All they have, I'll show you again what they did, how they framed it. Democrats said, please don't call immigrants animals. I said, no, they're not humans. They're animals. He was not referring to immigrants, legal or otherwise. He was talking about murderers. He was talking about Laken Riley's murder. In other words, I guess the only thing that we can bring from this is that the Democrats don't think that the barbaric murderer of Laken Riley is an animal. No, he's a human being that deserves your respect and your love and your support. In fact, he deserves to be free on the street. After all, everybody makes mistakes. It's the only takeaway I can glean from this entire episode. One more point. Oh, yes. Speaking of the murderers who are coming across the border, Donald Trump had something to say about them.
With your vote, I will seal the border. I will stop the invasion. I will end the carnage, bloodshed, and killing. And we will crush the human traffickers. You know, they traffic in women, mostly in women. We will vanquish the child smugglers, and we will liberate this nation from Crooked Joe and his migrant armies of dangerous criminals once and for all. This is an invasion of our country.
I would like to know from the Biden-Harris campaign and Democrats writ large and my friends in the media who love Joe Biden and hate Donald Trump, how would you describe the murderers who are coming across our border and destroying neighborhoods and destroying that? Just give me a quick hint on what you would call them, because this was President Trump was unequivocal here, specifically to those who are crossing the border illegally.
With your vote, I will seal the border. I will stop the invasion. I will end the carnage, bloodshed, and killing. and we will crush the human traffickers. You know,
I would love to know how much love, respect, and admiration we're supposed to give to human traffickers, to the people who are trafficking in human beings and children, tens of thousands of them who have come unaccompanied, who are now living with adults in this country who we have no idea. They've never been vetted. They've never even been checked and verified that they're family members of these children. What would you call them? What do you call the human traffickers, Joe Biden? Kamala Harris? Please, Joy Reid, I want to know the best way to refer to these people. Because God knows, the one thing we want to do over here is be as politically correct as possible. That was Donald Trump at his rally, and you saw the only response that they had was to lie, to lie, to lie, to viciously lie. And when they lie about him, they're lying about you. Because, you know, only an animal would support a politician that calls an innocent immigrant who's just looking for a better life an animal. You should be despised for your vote. That's why they do this. And they try to publicly shame and humiliate you from voting for the person that you know is going to fix the problems that this current president has caused. That's all they've got. In fact, in a moment, we're going to show you Dr. Jill. She did the exact same thing. And the media jumped on board too, because all they've got is fear. And they're going to try to scare you. You need to stick with us and keep your head down and know that that's all it is. It's just a tactic. You know how bad things are right now. And you know the only way to make them better. In fact, things are so bad right now, financial experts thought that we were going to be in the clear this year. They thought that inflation was going to come down. We could get some interest rate reductions, and then the economy was going to stabilize a little bit. And then the inflation report came in last month, and it was up again, way higher than expected. So no interest rate reduction. We were hoping for 6 this year. No interest rate reduction at all. And maybe estimates now are that we might, if we're lucky, get 3 interest rate reductions. Guys, this is not going away. It can't because of the math. We're $34 trillion in the hole. And the government just keeps printing money day after day after day. That pushes the prices for everything that you buy higher and higher. It's called inflation. It's government-created inflation. You can either bury your head in the sand or you can do something about it. Diversify a portion of your savings into gold with Birch Gold Group. That's what they do. Gold is your hedge against inflation. Always has been. Birch Gold makes it easy for you to own. They'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. And you don't pay a penny out of pocket for this. They've got an A+ rating over with the Better Business Bureau, and they've got thousands of satisfied customers. You can see the reviews. You can trust Birch Gold. Text Larry to 989898 today. Get yourself a free information kit on gold. Then talk to a precious metals expert on how to protect your savings from persistent inflation with gold. Text Larry to 989898 right now. All right, so Dr. Jill Biden, she's a doctor, you know. Although if you're ever over at the White House or on the South Lawn at the Easter egg hunt like yesterday, and you have an injury of some sort, let's say you fall, let's say you're chasing around the Easter bunny there on the South Lawn and you fall and twist your ankle and you're in horrible pain and you need some first aid. Here's the problem. Dr. Jill Biden cannot help you. She will be as useful to you as I would be. In fact, I might be more useful because I've had basic first aid. See, she is not that kind of doctor. And yet she insists that you call her doctor, which tells you a lot. Anyway, Dr. Jill Biden appeared on CBS News this morning, the morning show, and she was asked about the problem with the polls. Specifically, this is something that we've been telling you about on a regular basis, how in the battleground states right now, Joe Biden is underwater. He's losing in every single one of those states based on the latest rounds of polls. In fact, there's a brand new poll just yesterday from the Wall Street Journal that reinforces this. Well, here was Jill Biden's reply.
But when these polls, like the Wall Street Journal one, land in the White House and he's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up and he's even or doing better. So you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
All right.
So that's just a lie, but she seems a little testy, doesn't she? She's the first lady of the United States. She should be really happy. She doesn't have much of a job, right? But yet, why is she so defensive? Why is she so angry? Listen to this for a second, because at the very beginning, there's two parts to this that are really, really revealing. We'll start with the first part of it, her direct response to the polls.
But when these polls, like the Wall Street Journal one, land in the White House and he's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up and he's even or doing better. So.
All right, so he is not losing. He's coming up. Coming up on who? It's like if he's coming up, that means he was down. And if he's down and coming up, that means he is currently beneath Trump, who is above. Otherwise, who else is he coming up on? So if he is beneath and below Donald Trump in the polls, even if you maintain he's coming up, he is still, in fact, what's the word? Below Donald Trump. And in a poll, if one person is above and one person's below, even if they're coming up, but if they are below, that means, oh God, there's a word for it. What is it? Losing. It means they're losing. It means he's absolutely losing. No, he's not. Oh, no, he's not. That voice. He's coming up, or he's even, or winning, or something. Well, we hate to fact check the first lady, but we're going to have to do that. But first, I do want to ask a very basic question, because seeing Jill Biden on the set of a television news show made you wonder, why is she doing these interviews? Like, this is campaign season, man. We're like 6-7 months away from election day. And you would think that Biden would be doing a bunch of, I mean, that's a friendly atmosphere, right? CBS News. Are you kidding? With Gayle King, Oprah's best friend there doing the questioning. It's going to go well for you, Joe. Why don't you show up? I mean, remember the last time you were in a television studio giving a live interview? It was, again, an MSNBC with Nicole Wallace. Are you kidding? It doesn't get easier than this. You're going to get nothing but softballs. Let's see how Joe Biden comported himself there in this setting.
Like I said, I'm going to be down there congratulating you. I said I'd be a president for every American, whether they voted for me or not.
Well, and the ones that didn't vote for your bills but run on them.
That's right.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate
it's great to have you. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard from the president. We'll be back after.
Yeah, the last time Joe Biden did a live in studio interview, he just sort of up and got up and wandered aimlessly across the set. Look at that. I almost expected him to wander back behind her in this shot. Look, what is he doing? Where is he going? This is why they don't let him out. This is why he's not allowed to do live television interviews. That was less than a year ago, and he was less coherent then than he is now. But let's get to the fact check. Now, you just heard Joe Biden, in no uncertain terms, demand that Joe Biden is not losing in the polls.
He's losing in all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up and he's even or doing better. So,
all right. So let's look at the Wall Street Journal poll. It hit last night. And Fox News was nice enough to graphically break down each one of the states, the battleground states. Pennsylvania, Trump 47, Biden 44. That would be, that would be Biden losing by 3 points. All right, Michigan, that'd be Trump 48 and Biden 45. That would be Biden losing by 3 points. Okay, Arizona, though. Arizona is Trump 47 and Biden 42. Okay, so that's Biden losing by 5 points. I'm sure there's one of these states. Georgia, it's Trump 44, Biden 43. That's only Biden losing by 1 point. What the hell's going on, Georgia? Seriously, what is happening there? Nevada is Trump 48, Biden 44. That's Biden losing by 4 points. North Carolina, that's a bloodbath. Can we say bloodbath? I always forget the rules. Are we allowed to say bloodbath? North Carolina is Trump 49, Biden 43. That's Trump by 6 points. Wisconsin, oh, there you go. Wisconsin is tied at 46 points. He's coming up. He's coming up. Interestingly, though, on the Wisconsin poll, Yesterday was the Wisconsin primary, the Democrat primary for Joe Biden, something that is a completely meaningless vote, right? No one cares. Biden's already got the nomination. There's no one really running against him because the Democrats, who love democracy, wouldn't allow anybody on the ballot to run against him. And yet, yesterday in Wisconsin, in that Democrat primary, 40,000 Democrats went out of their way to vote for what basically is tantamount to uncommitted. They had a line there on the ballot, similar to in Nevada when Nikki Haley lost to anybody but Nikki Haley. They went out at 40,000 Democrats went out of their way in Wisconsin yesterday to check the box that said none of the above. Now, I don't know how Wisconsin's going to end, but I can assure you that Joe Biden cannot afford to lose 40,000 Democrats, let alone independent swing voters in Wisconsin. But more importantly, this is just an outlier. This is one poll, Wall Street Journal. And if you look at the bottom here, it says 600 registered voters, right? Listen, we do a lot of poll talk, and we're going to be doing a lot of poll talk between now and Election Day. And I tell you, you should really just look at state polls. If you're looking at polls at all, you should look at state polls because that's how we elect a president, not national polls. The state polls are much more important. And also, you should look at polls that count likely voters. All right. Why is that? See, this poll, Wall Street Journal, is just registered voters, not likely voters. Why do I recommend you only look at a poll or really take great gravity in a poll that says likely voters? Here's why. The polling people, they sort of ask you questions to see how committed you are as a voter. That's what changes you from a registered voter to a likely voter. You're a likely voter if you voted in the last election or in the last couple of elections. You're a likely voter if you demonstrate to the person who's taking the polling questions that you are incredibly committed and eager and enthusiastic to vote this November. That's a likely voter. Registered voter means you registered and that's it. You don't know what your voting history. You could have never voted for any president before in your entire life, and you're going to be counted in this poll as a registered voter. See, likely voter means that you are motivated and you're going to show up. Ask yourself something. Between the Trump voters and the Biden voters, which group do you think is willing to walk over broken glass and hot burning coals to vote for their candidate this November? That Wisconsin number, 4646. In fact, all of these numbers for Joe Biden, it might be real. It might be real, but something tells me that his voters are not quite as motivated and not quite as enthusiastic about their choice than the ones for Donald Trump. Why do I think that? Well, let's break down this poll. Do you approve or disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing as president? Look at the strongly approve line. That's the top line there. The total across all the states averages out to 17%. The best he's doing right now is in Wisconsin, where it's 20%. So 20% of Wisconsin voters strongly approve of Joe Biden's job versus 47% strongly disapprove in Wisconsin. That also, by the way, the 47% number matches the total across all the battleground states. That's what I mean by people. Yeah, sure, I'll vote for Biden, but I'm not happy about it. I don't approve of him. And this is a very interesting election because for the first time that I can remember, because the last time I think was 130 years ago, we have a former president running for president again. So not only can we ask the question, do you approve of Joe Biden's job as president, but we can ask those same people, did you approve of Donald Trump's job as president? And let's look at those numbers. That's the second group of numbers on the bottom of this page. So strongly approve for Biden, it's 17 points. For Trump, it's 32 points, almost double. So the voters right now in these battleground states said, who do you strongly approve of as president, Biden or Trump? By a factor of nearly 2-1, people strongly approve of Trump. And then when you move to the disapprove number, it's not quite as stark, but it's pretty stark. Strongly disapprove of Biden is 47 points across the board. For Trump, it's 39 points. That's huge. By the way, if you average all of the answers, you've got strongly approve, somewhat approve, and strongly disapprove, somewhat disapprove. If you just lump all of them together, The total approval numbers for Biden are 38, disapprove 60. For Trump, total approval 51, total disapproval 47. In other words, he's actually got a +4 right now in approval versus disapproval from voters who are ready to vote today. So again, I tell you those numbers just to sort of convey that even if Biden has numbers in the 43, 42, 44 range, they're not happy about voting for him. They're not enthused about voting for him. They're not motivated to vote for him. Now, the numbers on the Wall Street Journal battleground numbers that I just showed you, extrapolate that to numbers that we showed you last week. This is the average of all those polls at Real Clear Politics. If you look at the bottom here where it says battlegrounds, across the board, Wisconsin, Trump up 1.2, Arizona 5.4, Georgia 5.0, Michigan 3.7, Pennsylvania 1.0, North Carolina 5.0, Nevada 4.3. The fact is, unequivocally, based on yesterday's Wall Street Journal number and based on the Real Clear Politics average of polls that we just looked at, Joe Biden is losing. He is losing across the board in every single one of the battleground states.
In all the battleground states.
No, he's not losing in all the battleground states. He's coming up, and he's even or doing better. So
now that's a lie. It's just a lie. And of course, none of the vaunted journalists there and fact checkers on the panel of the set of CBS News said, no, wait a minute. None of them pushed back. None of them said, oh, I'm not going to let you get away with that. I'm sorry, we have to inform our viewers of the facts, like they do to Republicans all the time when they're there. No, none of them did that. But the most telling thing about what Joe Biden said here in this segment came next. Watch.
So, you know what? Once people start to focus in and they see their two choices, it's obvious that Joe will win this election.
All right.
Now, what she didn't say there was Joe Biden's the better man. He's the better politician. He's got the better policies. He's the better leader, and the country is better off than it was 4 years ago, and that's why he's going to win. Didn't say that. Why didn't he say that? Because they can't say it. I mean, they'll try to say it. But it's telling that his wife didn't even say that. His wife, who knows better, didn't say any of that. No, the only tactic they have right now is to demonize Donald Trump, demonize you, and terrify voters who are leaning toward Trump right now. And that's why she said, as soon as people start focusing and they see what the choice is, Joe will win. See what the choice is means, I know life is miserable for you right now, but you can't vote for Trump because he's a horrible man. And let me tell you exactly how that's going to manifest. We saw it over the last 24 hours. This is a big push now with the Democrats and with the media. They're going to try to terrify everyone in this country, and most significantly, single women and suburban moms. They're going to terrify them over abortion. MSNBC interviewed Floridians. I'm going to tell you about Florida in a second and why Florida is the focus. But here's an example of the message that MSNBC and all of the water carriers and the media are putting out on behalf of Joe Biden and the Democrats.
I've got a daughter, so I want to, also I'm her advocate, and now she's of age to vote too. So I'm hoping, she exercises that right. But that's a big deal to both of us.
That's abortion is the big deal to both of us. And this is identified as a Republican voter, by the way. I don't know how Republican she is, actually, if this is all that matters. Because here's the thing. I'm a mother. I have a daughter. And this really motivates her to vote. If I had I do have a daughter. If I was a mother and I was talking to my daughter about the issue of abortion and how it might motivate her behavior, I don't think I would just focus on make sure you vote for a Democrat who lets you kill the baby that you might have, right? Maybe you should talk to her about the moral weight of the act of procreation. Maybe you should talk to her about behaving in a responsible manner and choosing certain demonstrations of physicality with the one that you love, save it for marriage. Maybe you should talk to her about the sanctity of life and the fact that if you had exercised that choice, my dear daughter, if I had exercised that choice, dear daughter, 18 years ago, you wouldn't be here today. Maybe talk about the beautiful gift of life, about adoption if something horrible happens, or maybe convey to your daughter that, listen, I recognize that we're all sinners. I recognize that things happen. And if you do end up pregnant, I just want you to know unequivocally that as your mother, I will love you. I will embrace you. I will embrace that child. If you can't afford or have any ability to raise that child, I will help you raise that child, if not raise that child all by myself on your behalf. Would that be a motherly thing to do? And it looks like, I mean, I hate to judge from appearances, but it looks like this woman could probably afford a mouth to feed instead of just, murdering it in the womb. So it's kind of a chilling, weird little segment here when they have these mothers say, yeah, I need to make sure my daughter gets a right to kill my grandchild. But why is Florida so important? Well, they did the work over on ABC News on behalf of the Biden administration as well, and they delivered the message loud and clear on their nightly newscast. This is why Florida is in the spotlight.
Now to the race for the White House, abortion rights front and center, and will it put the state of Florida in play? Tonight, President Biden blasting the state's new 6-week abortion ban, one of the strictest in the country, before many women know they're pregnant. The president calling it outrageous. Former President Trump on the campaign trail today saying suburban housewives like Trump. Rachel Scott in Wisconsin.
Boy, that's a heck of a both sides description there, isn't it? Biden said this, and meanwhile, Trump said this. Really, David? Is that all both of them said? Well, he was right about Biden. That is all he's saying right now. It's all about abortion, 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 abortion. And they're claiming that they can flip Florida because of this new bill that's been signed into law, a 6-week ban on abortions. Now, let's think this through for a minute. A couple of things about how they're trying to scare you and scare voters about this issue. If, in fact, the state of Florida now has this 6-week abortion ban in place, it's there because a governor who won by 22 points in the last election signed that bill into law. And by the way, that governor ran on a staunchly pro-choice platform. He said that if given this bill, he would sign it into law. It also made its way to the governor's desk because the state legislature in Tallahassee, overwhelmingly Republican, they wrote the bill, voted on it, and gave it to the governor. And of course, they're all there because the people of Florida wanted them there. And of course, they all ran on this issue too. So the reason that that's now the law in Florida is because the representatives, either in the governor or in the members of the legislature, they were put there to activate this law because the voters wanted them to do it. But the most important aspect of this entire fake lie that you just saw promulgated by ABC News, CBS News, and NBC News to try to change the conversation in this country about abortion instead of about all of the things that's actually plaguing the American people, from crime to the economy to border security to national security issues. The reason why they're doing this is all based on a lie, is because that's all they've got. But the lie is so huge and so monumental because, please, my friends, think this through with me for a minute. To buy their argument, you've got to think that the people of Florida are going to rise up and choose Joe Biden as their president because they're angry at their governor for signing in a new law. Can I ask you something, please? What can the president of the United States do about a state of Florida law? Vote for me and I'll get rid of that law that your governor signed. No, he can't do that. He's the president. A president can't just cancel a state law. There's no mechanism for it in any way whatsoever. The only thing he could do is maybe vote in a new federal law that overrides these state laws, but he doesn't have the votes in the House or the Senate to do that, nor will he after this upcoming election. And oh, by the way, even if he did, then you've got a constitutional fight. It'll go to the Supreme Court. And I think we know what the Supreme Court has said about whether this is a states' rights issue or not. That's already sort of the law of the land. So the entire argument here that we're hearing from the media is, that's it. Florida and other states have gone too far by listening to the people in those states and passing bans on abortion, and that's going to hand the presidency to Joe Biden, because as president, Joe Biden will not be able to do anything about those states. It's complete nonsense. And the fact that they are building their entire political narrative right now based on absolute nonsense and lies tells you, well, it tells you they've got nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe the fear mongering. Guys, it's April 3rd. It's going to get so much worse. So much worse. Pete Buttigieg is your Secretary of Transportation. No, really. Before becoming the Secretary of Transportation, he had a very important job. He was the mayor of Indiana's fourth largest city. Yeah, not the largest city or second largest or third largest. No, the fourth largest city. That would be South Bend, Indiana, known for, well, the University of Notre Dame, and that's pretty much it. In fact, if you take the college population out of South Bend, I think it drops down to like the 23rd largest city in Indiana. But he was mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and at that point, his entire responsibility for transportation and infrastructure amounted to making sure that potholes got fixed. And I don't think he did that very well either. But he's now your Secretary of Transportation, and he appeared on Fox News, and the conversation turned to the disastrous policies of the Biden administration trying to force electric vehicles on an unwilling American public. And he said this.
Tesla sales fell 8.5% the first quarter of this year. Ford this week is laying off 2/3 of its workforce at the F-150 electric Lightning plant. It's also scaling back a battery production facility because of sagging sales. EV sales are nowhere near what this president wanted or expected, yet the administration continues to shove them down consumers' throats. Why?
Well, let's be clear. Consumers have wanted and purchased more EVs every single year than the year before. And, Tesla is facing more competition as GM and Ford and Stellantis and other competitive players start to make sure they get a piece of the EV market. Let's be clear that the automotive sector is moving toward EVs, and we can't pretend otherwise. Sometimes when these debates happen, I feel like it's the early 2000s, and I'm talking to some people who think that we can just have landline phones forever.
Oh, burn. Oh, that's my mayor. That's my secretary. You go, Pete. That's basically what you heard from social media for the last 12 hours after that rehearsed, market-tested, and well-scripted line from Pete Buttigieg. We'll get to the insult in a moment, but can we just break down the lies that he told before he got to his market-tested statement? Here, let's do this together, shall we?
Well, let's be clear. Consumers have wanted and purchased more EVs every single year than the year before.
All right. So first of all, when they start with let's be clear, it usually means they're about to lie. So always have that be sort of an antenna for you so you can listen carefully. Americans have purchased more EV vehicles every year than they did the prior year. That's not the point. No one's challenging that. No one's questioning that. We're wondering why we had to shovel billions and billions and billions of American tax dollars that we don't have to these companies to force them to convert to electric vehicles. If the American people really want them, then why did we have to pay for it? Why do we have to subsidize it?
And, Tesla is facing more competition as GM and Ford and Stellantis and other competitive players start to make sure they get a piece of the EV market.
No, they did not make sure they got a piece of the EV market. You forced them to get into the EV market. Those companies would have been fine sticking with internal combustion engines and continuing to make those cars. Now, the only thing that would have enticed them to move into the electric vehicle market is they found they could sell more of them or make more money on the unit sales, or if the American people stopped buying internal combustion engine powered cars because you people had made gas so expensive. That's all. That's basic supply and demand. If there is a demand for these things, companies will provide a supply. You can stay out of it. Again, the point is not whether people are going to buy electric vehicles, and the point is not whether these manufacturers are going to make electric vehicles to accommodate the huge demand from the American people. The question is, why do you have to give them billions of our tax dollars to futz with the market? If the market is happening, let it happen.
Let's be clear that the automotive sector is moving toward EVs, and we can't pretend otherwise.
What do you mean we can't pretend? It's none of the government's business. If the automotive sector is moving toward EVs, then fine, let them do it. But they weren't until you forced them to. And then you created a fake supply side with electric F-150s. Everybody wanted an electric F-150. What did those cost? Like $185,000. And nobody bought them because if you're the kind of guy that wants to drive an F-150, you want it to sound like this. You don't want it to sound like this. That's all. It's that simple. You also don't want to spend $185,000 if you don't have to. I may be overstating the cost of the electric F-150. And by the way, if you have one, you should hang on to it because I think it's going to be a collector's item someday soon, very soon. But then after all those lies and displaying his basic ignorance of market economics and basic principles of supply and demand, he then said this.
Sometimes when these debates happen, I feel like it's the early 2000s, and I'm talking to some people who think that we can just have landline phones forever.
What a smug little prick. Can we say smug little prick? The arrogance that this guy has, and it's he is the perfect poster child for the American left. This is don't you like dread that your daughter's going to bring home a guy like this at Thanksgiving dinner? This attitude, this I know it all, this smug little arrogant uptight jerk who is lecturing us about innovation and technology. And by the way, the analogy doesn't even work. You know why we've moved from landlines to cell phones? Not because the government decided to subsidize Apple or Samsung or Ericsson. No, because the people wanted cell phones. People wanted smartphones. They saw value in it. A demand was there. And so lots of players came in and made them and supplied that demand. Another thing about cell phones, interesting. We're comparing electric vehicles to cell phones. You know what cell phones are? Cell phones are about freedom. Cell phones are all about freedom. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't leave. I'm waiting for a phone call. I got to stay here because I'm waiting to hear from my dad. He's not feeling well. He had to go to the doctors. He's got a checkup. We're worried that he's very sick. I can't leave the house. I'm waiting for the phone call to come in. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't go out with you. I'm up for a big job and they might be calling me to ask me questions for the job. And so I got to stay home and I got to answer the phone. Oh no, I'm sorry. I can't leave. I can't leave work because I'm waiting for a big sales call to come back. I'm hoping to land a great deal, so I can't go out to lunch with you. I can't go out to happy hour. I can't go out to any other sales calls because I got to wait here. I'm married to my desk, and I got to take this phone call. That's how it was before cell phones. Now, freedom. You can go anywhere you want. People can reach you. I mean, it's not always a good thing. You can work while you're on a hike. You can work while you're camping. You can work while you're on a beach in the Caribbean. I know, I've done it. Cell phones give the American people freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of opportunity, freedom of transport, freedom to go and do and still stay connected, still conduct business, still hear from your dad to find out if he's got cancer. It's all about freedom. That's why cell phones are wonderful. Electric vehicles, the opposite. The 100% opposite. The 180-degree turn the other direction, opposite of freedom. I know this, by the way. I drive an electric vehicle. I own one myself, but I certainly didn't buy it for convenience because they're not convenient. If you're lucky enough to have a home charger, then you can charge overnight and then have a fully charged car the next day. If you don't, you've got the opposite of freedom. Your entire day is scheduled around where you can stop to get a recharge somewhere. And God forbid you show up to a place that's supposed to have a functioning charger and it's broken. Now you're screwed and you've got to find the next closest one and you better have enough charge left out of your car to get there. Electric vehicles are about the opposite of freedom. So the cell phone analogy, pal, doesn't work. Also, does Pete Buttigieg believe that the federal government outlawed landline phones? or in some way incentivized private companies to move away from landlines and into cell phones the way that this government is trying to incentivize manufacturers to move from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles? Because that never, and I mean never, ever happened. The reason that we have cell phones now and landlines are less ubiquitous is not because of a government initiative, but because of the private sector and innovation. Again, the opposite of what we're talking about with electric vehicles. And one other thing, Secretary Pete, when you go back to your very large, luxurious cabinet member, Secretary of Transportation office in Washington, D.C., and you sit down at that desk that is way too big for you, I bet there's a landline phone on it, isn't there? Just in case. What a smug little ignorant jerk. How dare he lecture you? Oh, you don't want an EV? Okay, boomer. How's that landline phone? Idiot. By the way, the real issue here is displayed right here in an article just 10 days ago in the Washington Post. Again, not about the industry, not about demand, not about what the American people want. This is about American tax dollars that we don't have going to fund this fiasco. Biden promised to install thousands of EV charging stations. Only 7 have been built. 7. He's been president for 3 years, promising that all these billions of dollars is going to pay for our infrastructure. It's been 2 years since his so-called infrastructure bill that once they passed it, he called a climate change bill that was full of money that we don't have, that's caused the inflation to get even worse, because the more you print money that you don't have, it makes inflation gets worse. It's been a year and a half to almost 2 years since that bill was passed, and all that fake money that we don't have was supposed to go to this network of electric vehicle chargers, and they've built 7. 7. 7. Now, I drive an Elon Musk American-made Tesla. And yes, I have a home charger, but if I'm out and about and I'm driving up to New York, or I'm driving to the Midwest, or I'm even driving to California and I need to charge as I go, I stop at one of the chargers that Elon Musk built through his company, Tesla. They built their own network of chargers. They didn't use government money for it. And it's amazing, isn't it? The private sector works. Capitalism works. Tesla is now the most profitable American car manufacturer. And the Biden administration hates him. You know why? Because he doesn't need them. Donald Trump addressed this issue yesterday at his rally. I told you he had an answer for everything that pisses you off right now. And he dared to say that he's going to move us away from the government forcing electric vehicles down your throat and actually give consumers and manufacturers the choice and freedom to be able to get the product they want. Shocking. I wonder if that'll ever work.
And I want them people to buy electric car if you want one, but I want them to be able to buy every other form of transportation, I want you to use gasoline a lot because we have more gasoline than any country anywhere in the world. So we're playing into China because they're going to make all that's what they have. They have that. We have gas. We have gasoline. We have oil and gas. We have gasoline. And I said, isn't it a shame? We play away from our strength and we play right into their strength by doing this. And the first day, I promise you, I will sign where the electric vehicle mandate is gone. If you want an electric car, you can buy it, but you're going to be able to buy every other form of push, every other form of car and engine and motor that you want, and you're going to have it. And the car companies are going to have to go back. You know, I don't know if you know it, the reason the car companies, the massive subsidy that this country is paying to try and get these cars sold. We have hundreds of thousands of cars electric. They can't sell them. People don't want them. And you got to go with the market. We've sold about 5% of our cars are electric, and that's fine. I think they're fine if you like to go short distances. If you want to take a trip, I don't think you want to do that. I don't recommend electric. Maybe someday they'll be able to do it, but right now they're not even close. So we're going to end that immediately. We're going to end it day one.
All right. By the way, great clip. If you can put that back up quickly in split screen, because I just want to point out, not only was that important what he said, but the most important part about what he said is where he said it. Do you see what the sign says on the podium there? Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's a message for Michigan. That's a message about the automotive industry. He was reading it from his notes there, specifically because, sir, we're in Michigan. Let's talk about our initiative to move away from the forced subsidies on electric cars and let the American consumer and American auto manufacturers buy whatever and make whatever they want in Michigan. Hugely important. Also, that's going to resonate with the oil industry and the gas industry, because there's one other aspect of this failed policy from Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg that is resonating big time for the rest of us who aren't buying electric cars, by forcing the market in the direction of electric vehicles and keeping American oil producers from thriving here in the States. Well, that, of course, has driven gas prices up everywhere. They're up again. And here's the latest, reported by Fox News.
Storm clouds when it comes to gas prices. Take a look at the latest numbers. We're at $3.54, the average gallon of regular. We've been ticking up for the last several months, up 20 cents in the last month. And a lot of states are already over $4. California's over $5 for average right now, $5.15 the average. Alaska, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, all of them over $4. And there's a lot of geopolitical risk out there and concern about oil prices.
Yes, there is a geopolitical concern in that this affects national security issues as well. And by driving up oil prices worldwide, Joe Biden has single-handedly funded Vladimir Putin's war machine and the mullahs in Iran and their terrorism war machine. Also, the only way that Joe Biden has ever been able to make a slight change in the price of gas was right before the 2022 midterm elections, where he was getting slaughtered in the polls. And what did he do at the last minute? He opened up our strategic petroleum reserves, something that is only supposed to be there for national security purposes. Eisenhower started up the strategic petroleum reserves so that if we are in a war and we can stabilize the cost of oil worldwide, or to be able to access a supply if some of our foreign suppliers cut us off, well, we have reserves for it. Well, he let it out. He released oil from America's strategic oil reserves, not for national security reasons or anything like that, but to just lower the gas prices to save his own pathetic political hide. Seemed to have worked, and he promised that he would fill up the petroleum reserves. Here's what he said back in 2022 when he did this move.
Today, I'm announcing a plan to refill the strategic petroleum oil reserve in the years ahead at a profit for taxpayers. The United States government is going to purchase oil to refill the strategic petroleum.
Now, it'd be no surprise to you to learn that he was lying. He was lying, or just a complete and total ignoramus. Probably both. By the way, the strategic reserves, by the way, were 100% full, over capacity, because during the pandemic, when the price of gas cratered, Donald Trump was smart enough to buy oil at its lowest point and filled up the reserves. Now, this knucklehead releases it when gas prices were sky high. And then he said, well, we're going to replenish it, and we'll replenish it at a profit. That was in 2022. It hasn't happened. And here's what was just announced today.
Today, the Biden administration announced that it's going to pull back its plans to refill the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You know, they drained that to try and bring gas prices down earlier. Well, they've been trying to fill it back up, but now it is way too expensive. So they say we hit $86 today on the futures market. They say it costs too much, so we're not going to do it. And now is the time of huge geopolitical risk out there. So I don't know. This summer could be a tough summer if you want to drive somewhere.
And a tough summer if you're wanting to run for president on your record. So that, in a nutshell, from Pete Buttigieg lying and insulting you on Fox today about your choice to drive a regular car instead of an electric car, to Joe Biden's horrific oil, natural gas policies here in the States and how it affects our enemies, literally our warmongering enemies worldwide, and the lie that he would replenish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's all a disaster. It's all it is. And that's why they're so desperate. That's why they keep lying. And that's why they're trying to terrify you about whatever they can lie about. You got to keep focused. Just stay focused. Now, I know you've heard me talking about the Durbin-Marshall bill. You know, that's the handsoffmyrewards.com website where you can get all the information and actually take action to prevent this thing from happening. We wanted to do a bit of a deep dive here, though, and give you an update on the status of that bill and some of the real harmful things going on with it and why it needs to be stopped. So to that end, our friend Richard Hunt joins us again from Electronic Payments Coalition. Hey, Richard, good day to you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, a good day to you, Larry.
You know, one of the things that we haven't focused on quite a bit on this, but I mean, there's so many bad things about it, but the aspect of data security, the fact that data security, which is something that we're all worried about and concerned about, we see headlines almost all the time about protecting our data and making sure it's secure, especially with credit card transactions, that this bill apparently actually undermines data security. What's that all about?
Yeah, Larry, it's a bad thing when government politicians, in this case, the United States politicians, try to tell American companies how to protect your data security. Think about when you use your credit card or even a debit card, you feel pretty safe that Visa and MasterCard and the 8,000 financial institutions have done their due diligence to make sure it is safe and secure. Well, what Durbin-Marshall does is have these new companies that are not even in existence today. They want them to be in charge of your data security. So what this means, Larry, is that they're going to want companies who do not invest in your data security like the current companies do, have full charge of your data. And that's just a bad sign coming from the United States Congress. We put a high premium on protecting your data. And what they want is to have companies that are who are not in existence today, have in charge of your data security.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense at all. And it's obviously going to put consumers at risk here. And this bill sort of, it puts the control into the wrong people's hands, it sounds like. I mean, when you say companies that don't even exist anymore, how is that even possible?
Yeah, what this bill does says you must have other companies be in charge of your rail system. So right now, Visa and MasterCard are in charge of their rail, their transactions of your card. These are the systems that they invented and that they work every single day to protect your data. Larry, just this week, AT&T had a major data breach. You remember the Target data breach of 2013?
Oh, yeah.
That actually came from an AC vendor in the state of Pennsylvania. Wasn't even through the main Target system. So this is just a bad bill forcing Visa and MasterCard to allow their technology to be used by a company that doesn't even exist today. Now, that's just dead wrong. And Larry, guess what else would have to happen? We'd have to reissue 8 million credit cards in this company. 8 million credit cards in this country would have to be reissued because of the technology transfer.
Well, now, when you lay this out here like that, I'm starting to think it might actually even be worse than what you've described, because if you're talking about credit card data breaches and data security for consumers, it's not just standalone between the consumer and the company that's doing the transaction. My bank or credit card, where I get my credit card bill, they're actually connected to it. And also the store's bank or credit card, wherever they're actually processing this credit card, they're actually affected by this data security breach too, wouldn't they be?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Larry. And look, let's call it like it is. This is Walmart and Target and Kroger trying to lessen the cost of using a credit card on behalf of their customers for a few pennies, but it's putting your data at risk. That's the story at the end of the day. And of course, Larry, something you and I have talked about, reward miles. Think about the 15 million Americans in this country who use reward miles. Those would go away if the Marshall-Durbin bill would ever pass. I know people use that, especially to go travel to see loved ones. Sometimes they have a family emergency they need to use flights, airline miles for as well. This would get rid of those airline miles to a large degree.
Yeah, well, and that's why, I mean, listen, that hits people at such a visceral and sort of emotional level, but also in the pocketbook too, because that's whatever you're not using your rewards for, you're going to have to pay for, or you just don't get it. That's why handsoffmyrewards.com is the website we try to direct everybody to, because it sort of speaks to them. Hands off my rewards. You bet, stay off my rewards. Keep your hands off of them. I'm also interested in terms of just in general, if we've learned from history here, because in my reading, I know that back in 2010, there was an amendment that specifically focused on debit card transactions. It was very similar to this, and that didn't go very well, did it, for debit card transactions?
No, Larry, that was a horrendous bill back then. And that's why Congress needs to learn what happened in 2010. In 2010, we warned members of Congress that debit reward miles would go away. You remember, Larry, we used to get reward miles on debit cards.
Yeah.
We also said free checking accounts would go away, and we said fraud would go up. And unfortunately, Larry, we were right on all three. Checking accounts, free checking accounts went away. Fraud did go up, and reward points went away. So what they're trying to do in 2010, now they're trying to do that in 2024. Congressional Research Service, which is an independent body for the United States Congress, just came out, Larry, and said there is no evidence, zero evidence consumers would save. You remember Home Depot said in 2012, they made $30 million over lower interchange, meaning what? They never gave the money to the consumer. They kept the money. And here we go again, all over again.
That's actually exactly what I was going to ask you, because you mentioned that these big stores that you just named, they're trying to sell this on reducing the cost of transactions for these credit card transactions. And that's, when they just say that, it sounds good. It's like, oh, you're reducing the cost of things. That means you're going to reduce the cost of the stuff that I'm buying, and I'm going to save money because you're reducing the cost of this act. But that's not baked in the cake here. What they're really doing, it sounds like, is they're reducing their costs so that they can have bigger profits. It's not going to affect me other than taking away the rewards and other things that I count on right now.
Larry, are you telling me your donut doesn't cost the same as it did since 2010, or your cup of coffee? Our interchange rate has remained the same for the last decade at 2%, and everything else has gone up. You've seen the outrageous cost at restaurants, at convenience stores. They have not reduced their prices one iota. Look, I don't like how much I have to pay for my gallon of gas. I don't like it at all. But the last thing I'm going to do is go to the United States government and say, put a cap on the gallon of gas, put a cap on the cost of coffee. Politicians, the United States senators, should not be telling American companies how to operate. It is a fair, competitive environment. Let the private sector work. When the private sector works, it is much better than allowing the United States government mandates to have full effect.
Yeah, it's funny because there was a time when credit card transactions were not nearly as ubiquitous and simple and easy. You do a drive-through at a restaurant right now, credit card, it's easy. I mean, it really does make things simpler, more convenient. And if you're like me, I maximize and leverage my rewards that I get from a couple of different credit cards so I can get the most back for them. In other words, the market is working. The supply and demand is working. It's not broke. Why in the hell is the Senate trying to fix what's not broke?
Hey, Larry, one of the best features of using a credit card, we talk about miles all the time, but the number one feature Americans use, cash back. People love getting money to pay for their groceries and their gas bills. They use it for everyday expenses as well. So by far and away, the most popular item as well. Look, again, this is just Target and Walmart trying to earn an extra buck or a couple pennies, not having to pay for services that they receive on these credit cards.
Well, and listen, with their lobbyists and with all of the big money donations that they're able to make, they have a pretty big voice on Capitol Hill. That's why we've been beating the drum here. And I know a lot of my colleagues on other shows have been doing it too. I know the message is being heard, but we got to make sure it's heard loud enough. So what should people do now? How can they make sure that this thing gets stopped?
Yeah, look, we know Durbin-Marshall would do anything to get this bill passed. They try to attach it to the government shutdown bill of a couple of weeks ago. We know they're going to try and pass it on the National Defense Authorization Act. That's why we need your listeners to go to handsoffmyrewards.com. We've had over 1.5 million letters sent to the United States Congress in the past year. We need to get to 2 million ASAP. Handsoffmyrewards.com.
Richard Hunt, thank you, sir. Thanks for the update. And hopefully we will let our voices be heard loud and clear in every hallway and office on Capitol Hill.
Great, Larry. Thank you.
Just saw this story on X. It was posted by one of my favorite accounts. It's not political. It just puts out fascinating things. In fact, I think the name of the Twitter account is fascinating. Apparently, Jimi Hendrix, when he was 12 years old, this would be 1954, a young Jimi Hendrix saw Elvis Presley in concert. And he was so mesmerized and taken by seeing Elvis Presley on stage that he went home and he doodled a little cartoon picture of Elvis Presley. And I want to show you the picture, but before I do, real fast, people don't know this, but Elvis started dyeing his hair black pretty early on in his career. But in his very first early appearances, he actually had very light hair. So bearing that in mind, here is young Jimi Hendrix's cartoon doodle of a very young Elvis Presley in 1954. Take a look at this. I mean, you see it, right? I mean, it's impossible that I swear this is genuine. This is genuine. This was Elvis Presley seen through the eyes of Jimi Hendrix. It's Donald Trump. In every possible way, that is Donald Trump with a guitar. It's incredible. Apparently, at the end of every concert, Elvis Presley would look at the crowd and say, "You're fired." Something like that. Buy that man a Cadillac car, Colonel Parker. I just love that. I think it's cool. That's it for today. We'll be back next time, tomorrow, in fact. Until then, my name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.